Good afternoon and welcome to the Public Service Commission of South Carolina. It is Thursday, September 15th, a couple of minutes after 2 p.m., and we are here for our weekly commission business meeting. Let's take a roll call of commissioners. Present in the hearing room, we have Commissioner Justin Williams, Vice Chair Powers, Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Caston. With us virtually, we have Commissioner Irvin, and with us on the telephone, we have Commissioner Carolee Williams. Also, the chair, Commissioner Belser, isn't in the room. I think I left myself off. Would you please join me for just a moment of silent reflection before we begin the meeting? Thank you. Mr. Scarborough, you're recognized to present the agenda to us, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Powers and Commissioners. The first order of business is to set the next Commission business meeting. Staff recommends the next regularly scheduled meeting be held on Thursday, September 29th at 2 p.m.
Our next regularly scheduled business meeting will be set for Thursday, September 29th at 2 p.m.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a full agenda today. We have 19 items on the utilities agenda and 13 items on the motor carrier agenda. Item number 1 on the utilities agenda is in docket number 2021-288C. This is a request by Chesney Telephone Company, Incorporated, to use the trade name Comporium.
Commissioners, we've heard agenda item 1 identified by Mr. Scarborough. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you. Comporium Incorporated acquired 100% of the stock of Chesney Telephone Company Incorporated on November the 1st, 2021. Comporium Incorporated has now requested to begin to use its trade name, Comporium, to further integrate the Chesney Telephone Company into the Comporium Group. Chesney Telephone Company intends to notify customers of the change via a direct mailing in September, with the change to be reflected on November customer bills. I move that the Commission grant the authority for Comporium Incorporated to use its trade name, Comporium, for the Chesney Telephone Company Incorporated. This name change will not result in a change to the rates charged or services offered by the company.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioners, we've heard the motion of Commissioner Thomas. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams?
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers?
Aye.
Commissioner Carolee Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Caston?
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 2 is in docket number 2022-271C, which concerns a request for approval of the interconnection agreement among Fort Mill Telephone Company, Lancaster Telephone Company, and Comporium Incorporated and Envoy LLC.
Commissioners, we've heard agenda item 2 identified. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Thomas?
Thank you. I move that the Commission approve the interconnection agreement between Fort Mill Telephone Company, Lancaster Telephone Company, and Comporium Incorporated and Envoy LLC.
Thank you. Commissioners, we've heard the motion of Commissioner Thomas. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote, starting with Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams?
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers?
Aye.
Commissioner Carolee Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Caston?
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 3 on the utilities agenda is in docket number 2006-18C, which is Aero Communications LLC's request to cancel its certificate of public convenience and necessity to provide local exchange and inter-exchange telecommunication services throughout South Carolina, from modified alternative regulation for inter-exchange business service and flexible rate structure for local exchange service offerings.
Commissioner, we've heard item 3 identified by Mr. Scarborough. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I have a motion, please.
Vice Chair Powers.
Thank you very much. I move the commission approve the request of Aereo Communications LLC to cancel its certificate of public convenience and necessity to provide local exchange and inter-exchange telecommunications service throughout South Carolina for modified alternative regulation for inter-exchange business services and flexible rate structure for local exchange service offerings. No customers will be affected by this cancellation. Based upon that, I would further instruct the clerk's office to close this docket. Madam Chair, I would point out that this company has not done any business here and has no customers here, so it's I think it'll be proper to close the docket as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Powers. Commissioners, we've heard the motion of Vice Chair Powers. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will have a roll call vote, beginning with Vice Chair Powers.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Carolee Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Caston.
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin.
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The motion carries.
Item number 4 is in docket number 2022-187C, which is Comporium Incorporated's motion to dismiss a complaint filed by SXCW Properties 2, LLC.
Commissioners, item 4 has been identified by Mr. Scarborough. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Thomas.
by letter dated August 29th, 2022, SXCW Properties 2, LLC, the complainant has informed the commission that it has reached satisfactory resolution of outstanding issues with Comporium Incorporated and agrees to voluntarily dismissal of the complaint. All outstanding motions are rendered moot, and the complaint is dismissed.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioners, we've heard the motion from Commissioner Thomas. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote, beginning with Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams.
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers.
Aye.
Commissioner Carolee Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Caston.
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The motion carries.
Madam Chair, item number 5 appears in docket number 2022-89G. Staff presents for commission consideration the final disposition of Piedmont Natural Gas Company Incorporated's application for adjustment of rates and charges.
Commissioners, we've heard item 5 identified by Mr. Scarborough. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Thomas.
I move that the commission approve the stipulation between the parties with the exception of the ROE and capital structure. I move that the commission authorize Piedmont Natural Gas Company Incorporated the opportunity to earn a 9.3 ROE with a cost of debt of 4.08%, a capital structure consisting of 52.2% equity and 47.8% debt after pro forma adjustments. I also move that the commission approve an extension of time of 5 days to issue the order regarding Piedmont's application for an adjustment of rates and charges pursuant to SC Code annotated section 58-5-240D. The order is due for issuance on or before October the 1st, 2022. Granting this motion will allow the order to be issued on or before October the 6th, 2022. The purpose of this extension is to allow the commission additional time to review the order prior to issuance due to the limited time between the commission vote on this matter and the original date set for order issuance. ORS is requested to prepare, circulate to the parties for review, and file revised settlement exhibits QPB1, QPB2, QPB3 to reflect the ROE capital structure and accounting adjustments approved by the commission. So moved.
Commissioners, we've heard the motion from Commissioner Thomas. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Justin Williams.
Madam Chair, I would like to commend the parties that appeared before us, the lawyers for their professional presentations, the witnesses for their very thorough, forthright, and straightforward answers. I'd like to also commend our commission staff for all the hard work that they put into preparing us to make this decision. It's a short turnaround here, and even with the short turnaround, we're going to meet the deadline, and I feel like our staff has put in a lot of hard work to get to where we are. And that includes the commissioners. I feel the commissioners have individually worked very hard to go through the transcript, understand the testimony, and come up with a decision that is fair, just, and reasonable to all sides. That said, I have to respectfully disagree with my friend and fellow commissioner, Commissioner Hedden Thomas. And I don't do this lightly because, one, I respect him and his judgment, but two, this record is one that has more opinions offered as to what is just and reasonable by way of rate, return on equity, and capital structure than I can remember coming before the commission since I've been here. We've had a lot to consider. And so as I give the basis for my decision, I just want to start with a framework. And in my opinion, and I think it's common across the board, in a vertically integrated utility regulatory framework, the commission stands in the place of the market. The customers are captive. It's essentially a monopoly, and we're supposed to provide that competition, the pressure that competition add to the supply and demand curves in the market to the point where those two curves intersect and you have market equilibrium. It's somewhat of a tension. But at that market equilibrium, you can argue that's the fair price or the price the market will bear. Here, though, we have to make that decision based on the facts and evidence we receive in a rate case. Now, interestingly, in this case, three parties agreed to ROE and capital structure. But for the DCA, the only facts we would have considered are the facts of that stipulation, but that wasn't the case. The DCA made arguments to the commission regarding lower capital structure, lower equity debt ratio, and lower ROE. And through the course of examining the witnesses, what was even more surprising to me, honestly, is that the Office of Regulatory Staff's witness, expert witness that is, Mr. Baldino, said that he believed that a fair and reasonable return on equity could be 9.0 or even as low as 8.9. Now, he said he supported a settlement for whatever the give and takes or negotiations that went on behind closed doors that we don't have anything to do with. But even with that, he said, well, you know what? 9% return on equity is fair and reasonable. And what does that mean? Well, the utility at that return on equity, the utility will be able to attract the capital that it needs to continue to provide safe and reliable energy. Investors will be attracted to give their investment to the utility based on that 9% return on equity. Well, it didn't stop there. Mr. O'Donnell, who also supported the settlement, he also said the same, that he believed that 9% return on equity was a fair and reasonable number. And it didn't stop there. Mr. Rothschild, who was somewhat considered a pariah because of his methods, and I don't hold the same opinion about his methods. I think his methods were fine. They just were different than the others, somewhat novel, at least that's what was said, and maybe not widely accepted, but they still produce numbers that were easy to follow, but just a little bit lower. But even though he thought the utility could attract capital with a return on equity as low as 8.74%, he opined that in order to address the issue of what he calls utilities nationwide granting ROEs that are more than necessary to attract capital in consideration of gradualism or incrementalism, he even thought that a 9.0% return on equity was fair, just, and reasonable. So what does that mean? To me, that means that 3 expert witnesses who were offered and qualified as experts about return on equity, they agree that the utility could do what it needs to do by way of providing safe and reliable service. They could attract capital at a 9% return on equity. And I believe that's fair. If based on the expert testimony, if they can attract capital, that's all the commission is required to grant them, an opportunity to earn a fair return. Anything more than that would be over and above, according to the experts, what they would need to attract capital to continue to provide safe and reliable gas service. Well, what does that mean to the ratepayer? Well, the ratepayer is entitled to pay not more than what's necessary in the way of a final rate for the utility to provide safe and reliable service. So the question, the resounding question for me that I just can't resolve, which is why I can't support my friend Commissioner Thomas's motion, is how do we justify asking the ratepayer to pay more in rates than what 3 expert witnesses believe is necessary for the utility to attract capital? I can't get there. Now, you set that argument to the side. We still have the RSA in this case, which allows for 50 basis points below the approved ROE and 50 basis points above the ROE that we approve. And simply put, there's an extra layer of protection offered to the utility. So it's a real world possibility that by approving a 9.3 ROE, it's a real world possibility that a utility could earn 9.8 ROE. The law allows that. Now, again, considering that the 3 expert witnesses that I just named all said that 9.0 is enough for the utility to essentially do its job, how do we justify that? That's a rhetorical question. I can't seem to justify that. The utility seems to be fairly protected in the event that the market conditions change. I don't see where that same protection is afforded to the ratepayer. I don't see how that's fair if we have 3 witnesses that say 9.0 is a reasonable return on equity. Let's get to capital structure. I rely on Mr. Baldino and Mr. Bowser because both believe, they say it differently. Mr. Bowser, the company witness, says that he could work with 52.2, so I agree with that. And Mr. Baldino believes that 52.2 is appropriate, and anything more, even though he supports the settlement, anything more would cause the ratepayer to pay more than necessary for the utility to maintain its credit rating. And so hearing from those three witnesses on ROE, Mr. Baldino, Mr. O'Donnell, Mr. Rothschild, and giving more weight to their testimony than Mr. Coyne, and hearing testimony on capital structure from Mr. Baldino and Mr. Bauer, I believe that a fair and reasonable ROE is 9.0%, and a fair and reasonable capital structure is 52.2%. All things considered, the RSA, weatherization, not causing the ratepayer to pay more than what's necessary, and not giving the utility less than what's necessary in order for them to run their business. And again, I note the RSA, even at a 9.0 ROE, the RSA allows for recovery of up to 9.5% ROE. And so for those reasons, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners, I would like to make a substitute motion.
Go ahead, Commissioner Williams.
Madam Chair, fellow commissioners, I move that the commission approve the stipulation between the parties with the exception of the ROE and capital structure. I believe a fair and just ROE is 9%, which will give Piedmont Natural Gas Company the opportunity to earn a 9% ROE. I think a cost of debt of 4.08% is appropriate, and a capital structure of 52.2% equity and 47.8% debt after pro forma adjustments is fair and reasonable. I move that the commission approve an extension of 5 days to issue this order regarding the application for Piedmont, or Piedmont's application for an adjustment of rates and charges pursuant to South Carolina Code annotated section 58-5-240D. The order is due for issuance on or before October 1st, 2022, as previously mentioned. Granted, this motion will allow the order to be issued on or before October 6, 2022. The purpose of this motion is to allow the commission ample and due time to review the order prior to issuing the order, and necessary because of the limited amount of time between the commission's vote on this matter today and the original date set for the issuance of the order. I move that ORS, I request that ORS prepares and circulate to the parties for review and file revised settlement exhibits QB-1, QB-2, and QP-3, to reflect the ROE capital structure and accounting adjustments approved by the commission. So moved, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. Thank you.
We have a substitute motion on the floor. Is there any discussion regarding this motion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Williams. Makes some excellent comments, and we're really not that far apart. However, I would just like to say that we are here to make decisions that are in the best interest of all the parties. And you mentioned 3 out of 4 of the witnesses, and there was one witness that didn't end up agreeing with the 9%, and that was the Piedmont witness. He didn't ever support the 9%, and I think that it's more important that we be balanced and that we show that we are completely objective. We're not going in any direction stronger for one party than the other. And so my motion basically started out with ORS's original recommendation at 9.3 ROE and a 52.2 equity component of the capital structure. In my opinion, that is supported by the record. Additionally, there are other things in the record too, other than just talking about these particular numbers. And I think being in our position where we are, where we sit, the decisions that we make, we have to take the entire record into account. And I believe that my original proposal is just a little bit more fair and balanced. And so that's where I am. And that's why I'm sticking with my original motion. I appreciate all of your thought and all of your efforts, but I think we just have to look at it from a bigger picture than just the ROE and capital structure. And that's how I came to the place that I was. And so I'll be asking for my fellow commissioners' support. Thank you.
Commissioners, any further discussion on the substitute motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Irvin?
thank you. I appreciate the views expressed by both Commissioner Williams and friend Commissioner Thomas. You've made good points. I think we need to put this in some perspective first, though. The company, Piedmont Natural Gas, has not asked for a rate increase. I believe it's been over 20 years since they've asked for a rate increase before this commission. They are a very responsible company. They have an excellent history of reliable, affordable, and service to their ratepayers and to South Carolina, all classes of ratepayers. And the increase that's being asked for initially would essentially add about $10 a year to the average ratepayer's bill. I think that comes out to about 82 cents a month. So we're not talking about a dramatic increase at all. It really is not. What is important to know is that the certified financial officer for Piedmont testified that Moody's had some concerns about their credit ratings, and the testimony was that if we took some action to reduce their rate return on equity and their capital structure, that it could put them in jeopardy when they have to go out and get financing in the markets. The last thing we want to do is for that to happen, because of course if the credit rating is downrated by Moody's and the other agencies that look at credit, interest rates will go up for the company when they have to borrow money to make improvements to the system. Those interest rate increases will be passed along to ratepayers. So that's the last thing that the commission should want to happen. We want the commission, we want all these utility companies to be able to obtain the necessary credit rating to get the lowest interest rates available when they need to make capital improvements to their system. That's critical. And so I urge you to take the long view, consider that. The second point I'd like to make is that parties work very hard through their attorneys to reach a stipulated agreement. And my view is that we should give great deference to the fact that they agreed on some 22 items, and all parties did, and then 3 of the 4 parties agreed on the stipulation of 9.49% on ROE and 53.5% on equity. And that was supported by record. Witness Coyne, O'Donnell, Aldino, and Seaman, even with ORS, all testified about the reasonableness of the stipulation, including the ROE of 9.49%. Now, Commissioner Thomas has even reduced that to 9.3%. So we've already taken the stipulated agreement off the table. And honestly, I think it would have been better had we adopted the stipulated agreement in this case. But nonetheless, we find ourselves in a situation where we want the company to be able to effectively compete in the capital markets for equity and debt capital. And in order to maintain its current credit rating, it's very important to have a consistent regulatory environment. Because as I mentioned earlier, credit downgrade is a grave concern for the company. The credit report referenced by the CFO, most recent rating indicated that the pre-working capital to debt metric was, quote, weak, end quote. That's found on page 3, minus 13 through 22 of his testimony. I think we probably can all agree that witness Rothschild's recommendation of 7.86% ROE was an outlier. He used very unconventional approaches for selecting his inputs. And for example, he used a very short-term interest rate calculation in his CAPM model. He used a 3-month Treasury bond yield to determine the cost of investments that will be in place for 30 to 50 years. Mr. Coyne said he'd never seen that done before. That analysts typically use a 30-year Treasury bond yield for this purpose. So I think it's easy enough to set Rothschild's opinions and recommendations aside and look at other factors that are clear in the record. The stipulated ROE is very close to the national average, which is 9.53%. That 9.53% was allowed for natural gas companies in 2021 and 2022 throughout the country. And we're coming below that if we adopt Commissioner Thomas's motion for 9.3, coming short of the national average. So it's not like we're favoring the company. We're trying to be fair and consider all the testimony and evidence in making a determination. So I would call your attention to the case of Ham versus South Carolina Public Service Commission, which talked about rate of return. That case stands for the proposition that there has to be substantial evidence in the record as a whole to support the commission's findings. And so, again, I would have preferred to accept the stipulated agreement. But since there's no support for that, apparently I'm willing to support the compromise that Commissioner Thomas has outlined in his motion. And I'll be voting for Commissioner Thomas's motion. I'd like to give the other commissioners a chance to be heard, but I do have a motion before we vote, Madam Chair. I'll stand down and see if anyone else wants to comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Irvin. Commissioners, any further discussion on The substitute motion.
Madam Chair,
Vice Chair Powers.
I have the unfortunate position of sitting between these two commissioners who both have made eloquent arguments. As far as one of the comments that we've heard about the risk and the credit position that this company may be in, I felt a little misled when we were told throughout the testimony by Witness Cohen and others that there was this risk that was average or above and based upon Moody's projections, et cetera. And then when they put into evidence the Moody's report, the first on page 1, it says that this is a low risk sort of company. So I'm not, as with other commissioners, I don't think that there's support for the stipulated agreement or what I see as a partial stipulated agreement, which was there. However, though, I think this thing's been well thought out, and I do believe I would, at this point, have to support Commissioner Thomas's motion. It is lower than what they asked for. It may be lower than the national average, but we're a small part of this company, and I just don't see that it has the great effect or the alarming effect that we were led to believe by giving a decision that is in some way does help the ratepayers more than the partial agreement that they reached. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Powers. Commissioners, any further discussion on the substitute motion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Thomas?
Thank you. I appreciate all of the comments. I think that both Commissioner Powers and Commissioner Irwin made some really good points that we need to take into account. And I believe that what they said should carry a lot of weight. And for that reason, I will be sticking with my original recommendation. Thank you.
Commissioners, any further discussion on the substitute motion? We'll deal with the substitute motion. We'll go back and finish any discussion on the other motion if the substitute motion doesn't pass. But right now we're addressing the substitute motion. Is
Madam Chair,
any further discussion?
Before we vote, a few more comments.
Commissioner Justin Williams.
I just can't, I can't begin to express how proud I am of this commission by going through the merits of this case so that we can, whatever we decide to do, clearly articulate our reason and rationale for our decision. I believe the more that we hear cases like this and the more experts that we examine, the more information and knowledge we'll know. I think that we've heard since I've been on the commission, not that this is wrong, it's a position, but I can almost recite like a Bible verse what happens when a utility gets ROE that's too low or a capital structure that's too low. The credit rating is going to increase, the cost of debt is going to increase, and that's going to ultimately be passed on the ratepayers. It's a message that is, it seems to be ingrained in some folks. I'm not saying that it's not true, but let's all remember that the models and the projections and the methods that we hear are all theoretical. It's not real. It's what could happen, what possibly could happen. And I'm not saying that you should get as close to that line to see whether or not you cross over. That's the opposite of what I'm saying with the 9.0 ROE. What I'm saying is the utility is entitled to what's necessary and enough to attract capital and nothing more. And when you have a RSA that allows a 50 basis point earning over the approved ROE, it seems that fairness is starting to transition to excess. If you don't set the ROE at the appropriate rate, appropriate being fair to both sides, the customer and the utility. Another thing I like to say is that all the witnesses testified to a range of reasonableness. So whether Commissioner Thomas or my proposed ROE is selected, it's in that range of reasonableness. And again, that speaks to the subjective nature of calculating or selecting a ROE. I'll say this in closing, fairness requires balance. And in a captive market, with certain guarantees to the utility, the only protection that the ratepayer has is the commission's decision to make sure they do see the full and complete record. And I think we do that, but I would just caution us not to be so easy to believe doomsday scenarios that are painted in a way to put fear in our hearts that if we go against traditional thinking at all, that we're going to cause the world to end. I don't know if that's the case. And Commissioner Thomas, your motion in and of itself is a testament to that. Barring the witnesses, because I didn't tell the witnesses what to say now, but barring their answers to our questions about what's reasonable, there would be no basis for me to make a motion to support 9.0. That's what they said. They said that's reasonable. I didn't say that. And so with that on the record, I can't unhear that, and I'm forced to reckon with it and deal with it. Commissioner Irvin, I appreciate you bringing up Ham versus South Carolina Public Service Commission. There's several of those. I don't know which one you were referencing, and my computer just locked me out, so I can't look at the site. But the one I referenced in preparing for this case was the one with 4 expert witnesses on ROE. They all gave ranges. They all gave their opinion, and some of them changed their opinion, updated, altered, changed their opinion. I think my colleague here is saying it came out in around 1992. But anyway, in that case, the commission picked a ROE that was not in the record at all. It wasn't in the record at all. That's not the case here. Whether it's 9.3, 9.0, even 8.9 is in this record. So we got everything we need to make a decision in this case, in my opinion. And it just comes down to how you see it. So I appreciate your time, and I'm ready to vote.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Caston.
I promise you I wasn't going to say anything. But hearing the discussion, and I too am very proud of this commission. I really am. I think it's great. And I'm by no means defending Mr. Rothschild. I mean, he can defend himself when the time comes. But I do note that this commission recognized him as an expert. And, his opinions are his opinions, and I thought he expressed them well. That said, on more than one occasion, I have mentioned or asked the question about doing things. The response I have gotten is, almost like this is the way we've always done it. I am not sitting here telling anyone that I don't think we should do it the way we've always done it. I'm just simply saying, what if the way we've always done it isn't applicable now? Or why did we do it that way, or once do it that way? And my concern with much of what we deal with or have dealt with is statements sort of like that, but that's just not good enough for me. You got to tell me, okay, now why? Now, why did we do that? Why is it done that way? Why does it need to continue that way? Not saying it doesn't. It may. So when I think in terms of what we're talking about here, RREs, we've always done it this way, this proxy group, that. Maybe we still need to, but maybe we don't. That said, I'm ready to vote. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Caston. Commissioner Irvin, I need to ask you, you said you had a motion. Is it related to the substitute motion?
Yes, I was going to move to table the substitute motion so that we could get back to first motion that was entered by Mr. Thomas. But if you'd rather just take a straight up vote on it, that's fine too.
I think, why don't we just take a vote if that, so you're not making a motion, is that
Not
correct?
at this time.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any further discussion on the substitute motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote, beginning with Commissioner Jay Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers,
No.
Commissioner Carolee Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
No,
Commissioner Thomas.
No.
The chair votes no. The motion fails. We'll now return to the original motion from Commissioner Thomas. Is there any further discussion on Commissioner Thomas's motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote, beginning with Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay Williams,
No.
Vice Chair Powers,
Aye.
Commissioner C. Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Caston,
No.
Commissioner Irvin.
aye.
The chair votes aye. The motion carries.
Madam Chair, item number 6 is in docket number 2022-244G, which is a request for approval of a compressed natural gas fuel purchase agreement, along with a request for confidential treatment between Piedmont Natural Gas Company Incorporated and Amazon Logistics Incorporated.
Commissioners, we've heard the item identified by Mr. Scarborough. Is there a motion on item 6?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Thomas.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Powers? Commissioner Thomas? Okay, Commissioner,
Commissioner Thomas, I would just like to make a comment, please. I will be recusing on this vote because I have some Amazon stock. Thank you.
thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Powers, I see your light on.
I do have a motion. I move that the commission approve Piedmont Natural Gas Company's request for a compressed natural gas fuel purchase agreement between Piedmont Natural Gas Company, Inc. and Amazon Logistics, Inc. Also, I move that the company's request that the CNG agreement be made confidential be approved as it contains commercially sensitive information which could cause harm to the company if made public. So move.
Thank you, Vice Chair Powers. Commissioners, we've heard the motion of Vice Chair Powers. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote, beginning with Vice Chair Powers.
I vote aye.
Commissioner C. Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
I'm recused.
Oh, excuse me, I apologize. Commissioner Thomas is recused. Commissioner J. Williams.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The motion carries.
Item number 7 involves docket number 2019-108G. Staff presents for commission consideration the request for the approval of the 21st Amendment to the United States Department of Defense contract for Fort Jackson, filed on behalf of Dominion Energy South Carolina Incorporated.
With regard to item 7, is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commission, I heard,
I apologize. This is Commissioner Williams. I just wanted to let everyone know that because of being on annual leave and some other responsibilities, I am not going to vote and participate in the rest of the meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. We will note that you have left the meeting. Thank you. I think I heard Commissioner Urban.
Yes, yes, ma'am, I have a motion. I move the commission accept the filing of the 21st Amendment to United States Department of Defense contract for Jackson, filed on behalf of Dominion Energy South Carolina Incorporated. So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner. With regard to the motion to accept the contract made by Commissioner Irvin, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote, beginning with Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner J. Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers,
Aye.
Commissioner Caston.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The motion carries.
Item number 8 appears in docket number 2019-189WS. This is a request for approval of Jacob Utilities LLC's 30-day notice of an increase in the water and sewer pass-through rates by the City of Clemson.
With regard to item 8, is there a motion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Caston.
Jacob Utilities LLC states that its bulk water supply for certain areas served in Pickens County, the City of Clemson, has increased its water rates and seeks to pass the increased cost of its bulk water purchase to its customers. According to Jacob, the new volume rate is $3.65 per 1,000 gallons and is an increase of 5 cent 0.05 per 1,000 gallons. And the new customer charge is $11.71 per month and is an increase of 77 cents per month, or 0.77. The new sewer rate is $5.20 per 1,000 gallons and is an increase of 15 cents per 1,000 gallons. The new customer charge for sewer is $19.30 per month. It is an increase of $3.22 per month. The utility further states that a 30-day notice was mailed on August 22nd, 2022, notifying the customers of the increase that are to become effective on October 1st, 2022. Jacob provided a copy of the notice of the increase sent to affected customers. Accordingly, I move that the Commission approve the requested increase in the wholesale water and sewer rates for Jacob for bulk water and sewer purchases from the City of Clemson, effective October 1st, 2022.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, we've heard the motion from Commissioner Caston. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote, beginning with Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers.
I vote aye.
The chair votes aye. The motion carries.
Item number 9 appears in dockets numbered 2015-274W, 2016-126W, and 2018-28W. This is also a request for approval of Jacob Utilities LLC's 30-day notice of an increase in the pass-through rate by the City of Clemson.
Commissioners, with regard to item 9, identified by Mr. Scarborough, is there a motion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Caston.
Jacob Utilities LLC states that its bulk water supplier for certain areas served in Pickens County, the City of Clemson, has increased its water rates and seeks to pass the increased cost of its bulk water purchase to its customers. According to Jacob, the new volume rate is $3.65 per 1,000 gallons and is an increase of 5 cents per 1,000 gallons. And the new customer charge is $11.71 per month and is an increase of 77 cents per month. The utility further states that a 30-day notice was mailed on August 22nd, 2022, notifying the customers of the increase that are to become effective on October 1st, 2022. Jacob provided a copy of the notice of the increase sent to affected customers. Accordingly, I move that the Commission approve the requested increase in the wholesale water rates for Jacob for bulk water purchases from the city of Clemson effective October 1st, 2022. I so move.
Commissioners, we've heard the motion from Commissioner Caston. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 10 appears in docket number 2021-132S, which is Palmetto Water Reclamation Incorporated's request for approval of the full name change to South Carolina Water Utilities PWR Incorporated.
With regard to item 10, Commissioners, is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Caston,
I move the commission approve the request of Palmetto Water Reclamation Incorporated for full name change to South Carolina Water Utilities, PWR Incorporated.
Commissioners, with regard to the request for a name change, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 11 is in docket number 2018-243A, which is the motion for confidential treatment of Stephen R. Goldie's personal financial statement filed on behalf of Jacob Utilities, LLC.
Commissioners, with regard to item 11, is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Caston,
I move that the commission grant the motion for confidential treatment of the financial statement of Stephen R. Goldie made by Jacob Utilities, LLC, and that the financial statement is the personal financial statement of Mr. Goldie.
Commissioners, with regard to the motion for confidential treatment, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner J. Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers,
I vote aye.
and I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 12 is in docket number 2022-256E. This is a motion for admission pro hoc vici of Kristen M. Athens, Esquire, filed on behalf of Duke Energy Progress, LLC.
With regard to the motion for pro hoc vici admission, is there a motion?
I have a motion, Chairman.
Vice Chair Powers.
Thank you. I move the commission grant the admission pro hoc vici of Kristen M. Athens, Esquire, filed on behalf of Duke Energy Progress, LLC. So moved.
Thank you. Commissioners, is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Powers,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner J. Williams,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 13 is in docket number 2022-197E. This is the applications of Duke Energy Carolinas, LLC and Duke Energy Progress, LLC for approval of a residential new construction program and for waiver of hearing.
With regard to agenda item 13, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I have a motion.
Vice Chair Powers.
Thank you. I move the commission approve the application of Duke Energy Carolinas LLC's for a residential new construction program and for waiver of hearing. Duke Energy Carolina LLC published notice of its filing with the commission to all customers via bill insert during the month of July. The return date of August 26, 2022 has passed and no party other than ORS as a statutory party has intervened. ORS filed a letter dated June 22nd, 2022, expressing that it had no objection to the request for approval of the proposed program and recovery of appropriate costs through the existing EEDSM rider and does not object to waiver of hearing. I note that Duke Energy Carolinas has presented the cost effectiveness scores of the proposed program over 5 years, and it's expected to achieve a UCT score of 1.83, a TRC score of 1.31, a REM score of 0.77, and a participant test of 2.14. Would so move.
Thank you, Vice Chair Powers. With regard to the motion, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Powers,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 14 is in docket number 2022-288E. This is a request for acceptance of a power purchase agreement along with a request for confidential treatment between Duke Energy Carolinas LLC and Hartwell Solar LLC.
With regard to item 14, is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Caston,
I move that the commission accept the power purchase agreement between Duke Energy Carolinas LLC and Hartwell Solar LLC and approve the request for confidential treatment. Duke Energy Carolinas LLC is permitted to file the confidential version of the power purchase agreement under seal and have it maintained as confidential. So moved.
thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, you've heard the motion of Commissioner Caston. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote, beginning with Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 15 is in docket number 2022-250E, which is Dominion Energy South Carolina Incorporated's motion to dismiss or, alternatively, a request for a more definite statement and to toll the hearing date and testimony filing deadline for all parties.
Commissioners, with regard to item 15, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Vice Chair Powers,
Thank you. I move the commission grant Dominion Energy South Carolina's request for a more definite statement and direct Ms. Gadsden to provide a clear and concise statement of the factual situation surrounding her complaint and the specific violation alleged within 10 days of today's date. The hearing date and testimony filing deadlines for all parties have been held in abeyance pursuant to Hearing Officer Directive Number 2022-87-H. So move.
thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any discussion on Vice Chair Powers' motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Powers,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 16 is in dockets numbered ND-2021-39EG and ND-2021-40G. Staff presents for commission consideration the working group created by Commission Order Number 2021-779.
With regard to item 16, is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Thomas,
the public information notice template has been created. Therefore, I move that we close this docket.
thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, you've heard the motion of Commissioner Thomas. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers,
Aye.
Commissioner Caston,
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 17 is in docket number 2022-105E, which involves the public interviews related to the responses of London Economics International LLC, PA Consulting Group LLC, and the Brattle Group Incorporated to solicitation number 540023176 from order number 2022-170.
Commissioners, is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Powers,
first I'd like to state that all three of the companies that came before us and made their presentations did an excellent job and provided the information we requested. I was very impressed with all three. Having said that, I move that the commission accept PA Consulting Group Incorporated's proposal for solicitation number 000-23176. I further instruct Chief Clerk and Executive Director Boyd to finalize contract terms with PA Consultant in regard to this engagement. I so move.
Thank you, Vice Chair Powers. Commissioners, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Powers?
Aye.
Commissioner Caston?
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner J. Williams?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 18 also appears in docket number 2022-105E. This is a request for confidential treatment of documents filed by PA Consulting Group Incorporated on September 2nd, 2022.
Is there a motion on item 18?
Madam Chair, I have a motion.
Vice Chair Powers?
I move the commission grant confidential treatment of documents filed by PA Consulting Group Incorporated on September 2nd, 2022. The documents contain proprietary data and should remain confidential. So moved.
Thank you, Vice Chair Powers. With regard to the motion pending, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Powers?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Caston?
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner J. Williams?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 19 is in dockets number 2022-151WS, 2022-161W, 2022-166W, and 2022-167W. This is the request of the joint applicants to modify the schedule, including continuing previously scheduled hearing dates, to consolidate all dockets for hearing, and for other relief as deemed necessary by the Commission.
Commissioners, with regard to item 19, is there a motion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner J. Williams?
Madam Chair, I move that we request ORS to file a letter explaining why, in light of the developments that have occurred in this case since their initial request or initial opposition to consolidation, why they still continue to oppose consolidation. Move that we request this letter by September 22nd, 2022. Further move that any response to the letter should be filed by September 26, 2022. Definitely understand that this case may bring up novel issues that need more time or additional consideration to address. But again, considering the development since the initial opposition, a letter explaining why ORS continues to oppose consolidation would help us make a decision. So moved.
I think there was also a schedule involved in the request that I'm looking at that was filed by Mr. Pringle. Is that part of any motion, Mr. or Commissioner Williams?
If I might.
We'll take it up separately. With regard to Commissioner Williams' motion for ORS to provide additional information on objection to consolidation, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Commissioner Justin Williams?
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers?
Aye.
Commissioner Caston?
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion carries. Is anybody, there was also a request, I recall, in the letter from Mr. Pringle about rescheduling of pre-file dates, hearing date, possible hearing dates?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Thomas?
I move that the commission stay the existing procedural schedule in these dockets and approve the following schedule. Remaining ORS Direct September the 16th, 2022. CSWR rebuttal, September the 30th, 2022. ORS surrebuttal, November the 3rd, 2022. Hearing date, November the 8th, 9th, 10th, 2022, as needed. So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioners, with regard to the rescheduled dates and the motion, Commissioner Thomas's motion, is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Williams?
the only thing that brings me pause is not knowing exactly what ORS is going to write into us regarding their continued opposition to consolidation. And I know there's been some back and forth regarding dates. Just want to make sure that approving this request won't, I guess, box them in, if you will, since we're asking them to file a letter to offer us an explanation on consolidation. You don't think these dates will interfere with whatever opportunity they have to answer that question fully?
Well, as I read and I don't mean to speak out of turn, but as I read the letter, ORS and the applicant had agreed to the pre-file dates, and because there was, I think there were pre-file dates that were scheduled for this week that were stayed by hearing officer directive, they needed to go ahead and get the pre-file dates approved because I think one of them may be tomorrow, I think. So those needed to go ahead. Could we add to that? Would you accept a friendly amendment to the motion, Commissioner Thomas, to allow staff permission to adjust the schedule as necessary to accommodate the parties in the dockets? Would that help alleviate any concern, Commissioner Williams?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, I accept that friendly amendment.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed on the motion as amended. Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner J. Williams?
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Caston?
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion as amended carries.
Madam Chair, that completes the utilities agenda before the commission. Moving on to the motor carrier agenda, item numbers 1 through 11 are requests for Class C certificates. Staff recommends that items 1 through 11 be taken together, and I will review them for the commission. Item number 1 appears in docket number 2022-272T, which is the application of Allen Transport of South Carolina, LLC, for a Class C non-emergency certificate. Item number 2 is in docket number 2022-273T. This is the application of Melva's Daycare Incorporated, doing business as Lake City Community Care Center, for a Class C non-emergency certificate. Item number 3 is in docket number 2022-274T, which is the application of Royal Limousine and Transportation, LLC, for a Class C charter certificate. Item number 4 is in docket number 2022-277T, which is the application of Hamer Services, LLC, for a Class C non-emergency certificate. Item number 5 is in docket number 2022-275T. This is the application of Adult Daycare 41, LLC, for a Class C non-emergency certificate. Item number 6 is in docket number 2022-278T. This is the application of Faith Transportation Services, LLC, for a Class C stretcher van certificate. Item number 7 is in docket number 2022-282T, which is the application of Let's Ride, LLC, for a Class C non-emergency certificate. Item number 8 is in docket number 2022-283T. This is the application of My Limo of Hilton Head Island, LLC, for a Class C charter certificate. Item number 9 is in docket number 2022-284T, which is the application of Kelvin Charles and Derek Campbell, doing business as Elite Transportation, for a Class C charter certificate. Item number 10 is in docket number 2022-287T. This is the application of Medcar Transportation LLC for a Class C non-emergency certificate. And finally, item number 11 appears in docket number 2022-289T, which is the application of Valde Mamadou Sharif, doing business as Mitch Limo, for a Class C charter certificate.
Commissioners, we've heard the items 1 through 11 identified by Mr. Scarborough. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Thomas?
I move that the commission approve the applications for Class C certificates and item numbers 1 through 11 as listed by Mr. Norman Scarborough.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, we've heard the motion from Commissioner Thomas. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote, beginning with Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams.
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers.
Aye.
Commissioner Caston.
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 12 is in docket number 2021-300T. This is the request of Crimson Beauty Transporting LLC to amend Class C non-emergency certificate number 9714 by changing the scope of an operating authority to read, quote, between points and places in South Carolina, end quote.
Commissioners, we've heard the item identified by Mr. Scarborough. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Caston.
I move that the commission approve the request of Crimson Beauty Transporting LLC to amend Class C non-emergency certificate number 9714 by amending the scope of operating authority to read between points and places in South Carolina. I so move.
Thank you, Commissioner Caston. Commissioners, we've heard the motion from Commissioner Caston. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Commissioner Caston.
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin.
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Williams.
Aye.
Vice Chair Powers.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion carries.
Item number 13 is in docket number 2022-173T, which is the request of Dream Trans LLC for an extension of time until December the 31st, 2022, to comply with commission rules and regulations.
Commissioners, with regard to item 13 identified by Mr. Scarborough, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I have a motion.
Vice Chair Powers.
I move the commission accept the request of Dream Trans LLC for an extension of time until December 31st, 2022 to comply with commission rules and regulations. I would point out that this is within the year requirement. So moved.
Thank you, Vice Chair Powers. Any discussion on the motion in item 13? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote, beginning with Vice Chair Powers.
Aye.
Commissioner Caston.
Aye.
Commissioner Irvin.
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion carries.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this concludes all business noticed before the Commission today.
Thank you, Mr. Scarborough. I remind everyone that our next regularly scheduled business meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 29th at 2 p.m. Thank you, and everyone have a good afternoon.